Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. We have had a little bit more snow, and I'd say it's taken us up to maybe 20 inches so far this year, but it keeps coming and going. So right now we've only got about 4 inches on the ground, but it's a beautiful day now. Only about 25, maybe 30 in that region, so a few degrees below freezing. And let's see what we can see. We got about half an inch of snow yesterday, and there were plenty of dead bees in the snow yesterday, but last night we had about half an inch, so it'll have covered everything up. So anything we see on the snow now is from today's drop. Let's see. Let's look around this yard. Got some critters. It's not warm enough yet to see much flight. If it was another 5 degrees warmer, I'd expect to see quite a bit of flight. But I see fresh new bees on the ground there. So this hive is alive. Last I looked, they were all pretty good shape. New bees there. There, some poop there, so that's new. Some bees there. Bees there, and there we go. A little bit of flying. I've been clearing a few dead bees out. So far, so good. Yeah. All of these hives have some dead bees around them. So far, so good. That's what we like to see. A few dead bees on the snow, not too many. Not too poopy, so that's exactly what we're looking for. So right now the bees are still hunkered down. Hopefully they're so far we haven't had any of those sudden drops in cold. Those are the times when you really worry about your bees in terms of if they don't have insulation. Right now, you can have day after day after day at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, say minus 20 centigrade, without insulation. Hive should be fine. It's when they drop 50 degrees in a day, that's where the insulation makes a huge difference. On those hives that are experiencing the cold weather, if they don't have insulation, they're using more honey, but they should survive the cold, provided they don't run out of honey, and provided their clusters aren't too small to maintain that heat. So a lot of people always say to me, oh, they don't need insulation. it's true, under good conditions, they don't need insulation. As long as you don't have rapid drops in temperature or you don't have a small cluster. Both, they can survive without insulation, even down -20, -30 without insulation. But it's the rapid drops or small clusters which don't make it under those circumstances. So that's why I always recommend insulate your hive. You don't know what year you're going to have those rapid drops, and just in case your clusters are smaller than you'd hoped for come midwinter. Otherwise, they're looking good. Went into the winter with a fair amount of honey. I'm still going to check them in a few weeks' time as to how heavy those hives are, because I wouldn't be surprised if the nukes needed the odd winter patty. I would be surprised if many of the deeps, the double deeps, needed much, because they were very heavy going into the winter. However, having said that, we had quite a few weeks during October and November and even December where the bees could fly, mostly November, where the bees could fly a lot. And when they fly a lot, they use a lot of honey. The other thing I saw this fall, which would suggest they were going to use more honey than normal, is much later brood in the hives than normal. I would put that down to probably because of the high honey flow we had up until frost, and the queen kept on rearing bees as long as she could. So I would expect that this year, and friends who are weighing their hives on a regular basis through the winter are confirming to me that in the first couple of months of the winter, the bees were using honey much faster than normal. And now at this point, they're down to about a quarter pound to a third of a pound per day using the honey. So under those conditions, it lasts a long time. But when they're eating 3/4 of a pound a day during the fall, that eats a big chunk into their resources going into the winter. But so far, so good. So it's a beautiful day to be outside. Took the opportunity to take the girls out for a bit of a run. And it is a beautiful day. Pond is well and truly frozen over. But the girls have been having a good time sliding on the pond as we throw sticks onto the pond and having a good slide around. So we've just opened up the doors to another workshop at the moment. Amy Nixon and myself are doing another beginner's workshop for Beekeeping 24/7. This is something where we just cover in a relatively superficial way, as much as you can cover in 2 45-minute videos about beekeeping, beginning beekeeping in general. It's like a taster of beekeeping. For $10, somebody gets a good taste of what's involved in beekeeping, what space they need, the equipment they need, the time involved, etc. And so then we do a couple of 1-hour sessions where we go live with them on Facebook. So we're fielding questions. Also, in the meantime, during the course of that week or so, we also field all those questions in writing. But we do these live sessions as well for question and answer sessions, so Amy and I can interact with them. This gives them a pretty good idea of how we go about teaching. And so if they like the $10 workshop, then they're very welcome to join us in as a full member of Beekeeping 24/7, where we're giving them mentoring like that 365 days a year. We basically teach the way we successfully keep bees here in Chile, Maine, and extrapolate those into the other regions. Now, yes, there's certainly local differences, and we take that into consideration when advising people, but we've got members from Florida to Alaska who are doing very, very well with their bees, and it's a group where there is no criticism and bad behavior accepted on the Facebook page and the group there. That's one of the things that inspired Amy and I to get started, is there's so many of these groups where you ask a simple question and you get a whole load of abuse of a beginner who should know better before they start beekeeping and that sort of thing. It really irritates me. And so we do it with kindness, and we're helping a lot of newbies getting started that way. So feel free to join us. Check out the details of that workshop. It's going to be the first week of February 2025. And you'll be able to watch it at your leisure over the course of the following 3 weeks or so. They can watch, and the good thing about recorded classes is that you can watch them again and again and again until it sinks in. I know for me, I need a lot of repetition when I'm learning something new. So we remember what it's like as a beginner, particularly Amy. It wasn't quite as long ago that Amy was a beginner, but it's very useful to be able to empathize with those still in the learning process, because it's not always that easy to remember everything. One thing about going to an in-person class is, what do? You take it on board, but you hear it all once. Then you go into your hive and remember that you've forgotten everything. The only thing you can remember is that you talked about it, but you couldn't remember what you needed to do. So that's where the continuous input of a mentor is really, really helpful. And in Beekeeping 24/7, we do a lot of continuous mentoring as well. We've got hundreds of members all over the country that we're continuously advising them with their specific questions. Anyway, I think it's time for these girls to come back in with me, and I'll get this posted and get back to answering more questions. Okay, girls, come on, let's go back to the house. Come on. This is where they end up going the opposite direction, but no, they went the right way. That's a nice change. Anyway, I hope your bees are doing okay and your yards look something like what mine does at the moment. I'm Peter Count, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.